Joining us now, Democratic Congresswoman Elissa Slotkin from Michigan, member of the Homeland Security Committee, and also a former CIA and Pentagon official. Congresswoman, very good to see you. Thank you very much. What about a payroll tax cut or other stimulus packages? I interviewed earlier Gene Sperling and Jason Furman, who both had experience with this in previous Democratic White Houses in response to a crisis. It's unclear what would stimulate the economy right now. Jason Furman from Harvard said, just let's give especially low-income workers a $3,000 check so that they can meet bills and stay home with their kids and try to stop community spread. I don't know what your view on that is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think whatever we do on an economic stimulus, it has to get to this confidence problem that people are feeling. You know, even if people had money in their pockets, if they're scared to go to the movies, if they're scared to go to work, if they're scared to go to school, then it's not going to do much. So what we have to do is address the underlying health issues. And for there, we really need strong, clear leadership, right? We need a firm hand to just go by the CDC guidance and tell us what we should and should not be doing. And, you know, I think we're seeing offices on the Hill start to do this in our own lives, but every single agency, every company, every nonprofit should be coming up with a contingency plan to go to telework. We should be abiding by the, no essential travel if you're elderly, no cruises. We need to have a firmer hand on getting a control of the virus, because if we're not doing that part, then any stimulus we have is just not going to be as effective as we want it to be.
And in past years, there's been a threat warning hearing in the House and the Senate from all of the intelligence officials. And in the past, it's said in very explicit language that the U.S. is not ready to face a pandemic of this nature. This year, it has not been held on the advice of some in the intel community who feared that the kind of guidance about North Korea, Iran, and other threats, Russia interfering with our election, that Dan Coats gave very clearly last year could have led to his firing and might lead to more firings against the intelligence community from an angry president this year. What is your concern that you're not getting the kind of information, that the public is not getting a declassified warning about a lot of threats, including this one?
Yeah, so I was a CIA officer. I worked at the DNI's office. This worldwide threat hearing, which happens every winter, it's the one moment the intelligence community comes together at the senior-most levels and has a public hearing about threats that are facing the country. And for me,
Congresswoman, let me just pause you for a moment.
Sure.
The president just is arriving, gave a thumbs up. There were shouted questions, no answers. And I interrupted you. You were talking about the worldwide threat hearing, which I've covered for years, for decades.
Yeah. So it's just the one moment that the intelligence community comes out and talks to the American public about what the threats are. It's every year. We do a ton of work to prepare for it. And my deep concern is that we don't have a scheduled date where these folks are going to come up. And I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it feeds into this narrative that the intelligence community does not feel comfortable speaking truth to power, just being open about their analytic assessments, not political, not trying to hit anybody on this, but just telling the country what they think the primary threats are facing the nation. So it's a real concern. Obviously, we are deeply concerned that we have an election security briefing today, a classified one. We understand there was some juggling of the participants. And as someone who was a civil servant, we always serve whoever our president is, but we have to be able to speak honestly about the threats that face us.
Well, in fact, Rick Grinnell, the DNI, was supposed to at least initially be at that Russia election hearing and is now, we understand, not going to appear. We don't know what will happen or why that took place. What about Michigan and any concerns you might have about election interference today?
Well, we see no signs of election interference that I've heard of. We have a very strong Secretary of State in Michigan who knows how to do election security, so that gives me confidence. What we do know is that it's going to take a long time to count all these absentee ballots. Michigan changed our laws, made it very easy to vote absentee, and the last statistic I saw is that we're up by 97% from 2016 on absentee ballots. So it's just going to take us a minute, bear with us tonight. But for me, we don't see anything untoward, at least that I've been made aware of.
Congresswoman Elissa Slotkin, thank you so much.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.